so we have this. Oh, by the way, when you go to create the song, the first one's "Reckless Love" and the second one was "Oceans." Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you should be able to go online. These are covers, right? Go online and find the chord sheet for that, so you can identify the chords. Everyone got that?
Yes.
So you're going to pick one of these two songs, and you're going to make a session out of it with all the parts of a song, and you can go find the chords online. But it's looking up reckless chords, right?
Find chords.
She's playing chords in the song.
Did she transpose though? The capo?
She might have. So you're going to have to transpose the chords, right?
How do we find them online?
Just go reckless chords, right?
Reckless
Love.
Reckless love,
Oh,
reckless love, chords. Wink.
that's not an original song. It's like a guitar.
No, they aren't. I thought they were original. I'm like, you're a really good songwriter. There it is. There's the chords for it. You could transpose it to whatever key she was doing. I think she capoed up one or two, so she. All right, so here's me getting familiar with this. I'm just going to go through the steps that I went through yesterday when I was sitting in the office. The first thing, of course, is solo the vocals.
I couldn't earn it. I don't deserve it.
Sounds totally different.
You give yourself.
I was mixing when I was mixing this. It was on the iMac speakers, which is probably a better place to mix than on these really good speakers because that's what more people are going to hear when they hear it. First thing when I put it on is I listened to that mic and I was like, "Dang, thing sounds really good." It just had a really smooth sound to it. I heard a lot of sibilants in it when I played through it. I was like, okay, so this is the. Let me try this de-esser. So I think the first thing I did is brought over my typical compression package, which would be some sort of limiter here, and then some sort of leveler here or smoothing thing. So in Logic, the limiter one that I always grab for is this one, just because I don't want to think about what attack time it should be, and I start thinking about that and I get all stressed out. So first thing I did is I put on her voice some limiting.
Away. Only overwhelming, never ending.
Let me play that little section there without the limiting, just so you can hear it.
Couldn't earn it. I don't deserve
Okay, let me
it.
try again.
Still, you give yourself away.
Right there is actually where I want to start.
Still, you play. Only over.
Versus, turn the compression on.
Way. Only over.
Can you hear the difference? Do you want me to turn off the screen and A/B it, or are you good? That's a good answer. Thank you. I'll turn it up.
I'd say we should. Could you A/B it without telling us you're gonna A/B it and see if we can hear the difference? You gonna
If we don't realize you're AD, then
What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
like instead of like, because you usually say this is A and then you say this is B, but could you like turn it on and off without telling us?
Sure.
Can you be
You get to listen for it.
And you're going to tell me if you can hear it?
Yeah.
Does it make it more blind?
Okay, here I'm playing something.
Way. Only overwhelming, never ending.
Okay, here I'm playing something.
Way. Only overwhelming, never ending.
Yeah, hard, right?
Yeah.
I think if you did it and be in the middle of it, you'd be able to tell.
We'd hear him clicking.
You hear him clicking.
Oh, you
but
know which
you don't
one.
know if
You don't know which direction I'm going.
You know he's doing something.
Yeah, just do that.
I think that's why I have to go A and B. So you know the
First
first
one had
two.
compression, second one didn't.
Okay, here we go. I'm at it in the look. I'm clicking this a bunch of times.
Way. Only overwhelming, never
A, B.
way. Only overwhelming, never ending.
Okay, for me it's pretty clear. You can also hear the difference.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I can kind of hear it, but I can't really articulate it.
Which one was A?
Compression.
A was non-compression.
Not
I had to look to make sure I was right. I've had that happen. You think you're right. So here we go. I'm going to randomly click it a bunch of times. Let me turn up the compression a little bit
My
more.
ears are still screwed up. So
Compression up a little bit more.
Yeah.
from the drummer.
No, from like being sick.
Here we go.
way,
Wait, I'm sorry. I looked. Okay. Here's one. Here's A.
way, only over,
Here's B.
way, only over.
I mean, I'm hoping you can hear that pretty clearly.
Yeah.
It's way louder.
Which one is louder?
B.
B,
Sounds
because
like
one was happening in A. Okay, so I turned the compression up quite a bit there, right?
Way, only
Got it? With this.
way, only.
Okay, so that's a ridiculous amount of compression.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so now let me put it at what's going to be more reasonable.
Only.
Where did I have it? Oh, let me go back to where I had it. Okay, so here we go. A.
Way, only overwhelmed.
B.
Way, only overwhelmed.
A.
Way, only overwhelmed.
B.
Way, only overwhelmed.
Yeah, he's compressed.
Way, only
A.
overwhelmed.
Here's B.
Way, only overwhelmed.
I hear it more in the D. Like when she hits the D, it's kind of like, blah, kind of pokes in. Right? Anyway, so a little bit of limiting on her there.
Only overwhelming.
And then some the second one.
Wait, so which one was compressed, A or B?
What's that?
Which one was compressed again, you said?
Oh, and now I don't remember.
Because you said it was the A.
Is this an activity you can do on your own? Absolutely, right? You see me clicking a bunch of times until I didn't know which one it was, and then I'm looking away and listening for it. Okay. If you get much less than those 5 decibels of reduction, you're not going to hear it. It's going to be pretty hard to hear. You got to be pretty talented with that. Which is why the first indicator is about 5 decibels. It's about where you start to hear it. Okay. Then I put on the LA2A mimicker, which will give it different tonal quality that people seem to like. Why do I do this? This is what people have always done, so I guess I should do it. Here we go.
Way, only.
What's the first thing you notice?
No.
Yeah, right. So I find this LA2A thing to be a little annoying because it seems to crank the volume. Let me turn that down to 0.
Way, only overwhelming, never ending.
Okay, so if I look at this, it's got a longer release. What did I do? I went in and I picked Studio Vocal, which it puts on a 1176 compressor mimicker, and I just switched over to this vintage Opto.
So it looks as if the first thing you should do when using this is take the makeup to 0.
Yes, it is. I didn't do that yesterday. I was doing this real fast while River and Mark were.
Were you sure that was in 1176? Because I don't think the 76 is a threshold option, does it?
No, it's just 2 knobs.
It's just 2 knobs, it's input output.
Well, this is their 1176, but it doesn't.
Okay.
They don't do it the way
They don't know how it
76
should be. Alright.
1176 actually has an input
Yeah.
and output knob. That's it.
Oh, I think other
No, it's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
All right, so probably none of us can hear this. Let's see.
Only
Now I gotta set it so it's actually doing something. So as I'm looking at this one, the idea on this is that there's a longer release. So I would be probably extending the release so that I'm trying to kind of like smooth out her voice a little.
Only overwhelming, never ending, reckless.
I'm trying to go never, hearing the end of the word, not never ending, so that the limiter is stopping those first note, the first part of the envelope. This one ideally is keeping the envelope flatter the whole time. So the goal of that is to make the voice pop just forward a little bit because your ear doesn't have to work to hear it as much, right? Remember when we were doing that with the piano recording? When we made his voice a little flatter, it's funny, it was easier to hear because it was more consistent. That against the excitement of, oh, pay attention when something changes, that catches your ear, right? So it's a tricky thing. So,
Way, only
should we see if we can hear this? My bet is that we can't. My bet is more that your teacher put this on because he was told to when he was a student. Or read somewhere it should be on. Okay, here's A.
way, only overwhelming, never
Here's B.
ending. Way, only the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Could you guys hear a difference?
Yeah, compressed.
Okay.
A was compressed.
Now I've clicked it enough. I don't remember. Sorry. But the volumes were so different. Let me adjust the volume so it's closer.
Oh, the overwhelming, never way. Oh, the overwhelming,
Right.
never way. Oh, the way. Oh, the
Okay, here we go. A.
way. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending
B.
way. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending
Anyone ready to pass judgment, or should I play it again?
Again.
I'm pleased that I got it at least. Okay, here we go.
way. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending
B.
way. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending.
A is compressed. A is compressed.
Want me to do it one more time?
Yeah.
Here's it.
Way.
Obviously, if it's this hard, it's not that important. It just feels like it. This is just such a geeky, stupid thing to do. Okay. A.
Way. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love.
B.
Way. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending.
Raise your hand if you think A is compressed. Raise your hand if you think B is compressed. Raise your hand if you can clearly hear the difference between the two.
I can hear a difference, but I don't.
Raise your hand if you can't hear a difference between the two and they sound pretty much the same. They sound very similar to each other, right? Very similar to each other. Listen to when she goes, oh, the, oh, no, oh, the. Listen to the word the and oh right there. See if you can hear the difference there. Okay, here we go. Here's A. River.
Sorry.
Way. Oh, the
And B.
way. Oh, the over.
Which one was louder? The second one was louder. Can anyone tell me why that might be? And then from that, infer maybe which one the compression is on. River, you're clicking too much.
Sorry, I'm trying to get these files on because it's a logic file and not a pack and not a folder.
For
I'm trying to export them so I can use it on my computer later.
let's do that when we're not doing critical listening. Okay. Sorry.
I thought B was compressed because I heard the like it was closer to the O, like in sound wise.
Okay, so we agreed that the VO was louder in the second one, right?
Everything would seem more stretched to me in B as well. Just
If something is poking out louder, that means it's not compressed. Okay, so if something's pokier, this is less compression, if that makes sense. Okay, especially because you remember what I did to the release time on this?
oh, you cranked it up.
I extended the release time, which means so if she goes, oh, the oh, and she's hitting really hard on the oh, I'm sorry, if she's going, oh, the, she's holding the O out, and if the compressor's working on the O, if it's a slow release, by the time she says the, it hasn't let go yet, and it's still compressing the V. Whereas if it was letting go quickly, like a limiter, the V could be loud even though it's not as loud as O, because the compressor lets go by the time it gets to V. Okay, so what, for me, the telltale sign in that was when she said VO, it was much louder in one of them than the other, which meant to me that's not being compressed anymore. And I know I set a limiter on there at the long compression. You also might hear in this that they sound different. Not only in that dynamic range, but you might be able to hear in the compressed signal there's a little bit of a different sound. I'm not going to tell you what that sound is. See if you can hear it. Okay, so I'm going to play it again. Here's that.
Way, all the over
B. Listen to the D.
way, all the over
Are you hearing it?
Yeah.
They're pretty dramatically different. One more time on the B.
way, all the
B.
way, all the over
Pretty big difference there, okay? That is the idea of how an opto compressor would be working. So which one has a compression on it? A, right? A has a compression on it because the B one is popping out. Now see if you can hear some of the other different This is hard stuff, right? You're training your ear right now. See if you can hear some of the other like mid-range tone differences and maybe the breathiness overtone differences. Here's A with compression.
Way, all the overwhelming
B.
way, all the overwhelming.
Does anyone hear any differences in those?
I think A has more like mid-rangey stuff.
That's the B sounds to me a little more. I would say low mid-range. I would call it warmth. I hate to use that word warmth, but that's the word everyone uses with LI2A. It's got a little bit more saturation, or some sort of distortion it's doing that's kind of taking out some of the mid-range. Remember when we listened to Nigel's recording of him and it had too much around 1K? It was kind of pokey in there. I'm hearing more of that when the LA2A isn't on. I hear more of the upper mid-range and a little softer lower mid-range when it's on. Here we go again. Did you hear what I'm talking about or maybe something else? Here's A.
Way, all the overwhelming
B.
way, all the overwhelmingness.
Any other thoughts on those two? What's that?
When she breathes in it sounds a little different.
Does, right? Those breaths. Listen to the breaths on this one. Listen to the breaths, okay? Here's A.
Way,
The breaths in when she's starting and ending words.
way, all the overwhelmingness.
B.
Way, all the overwhelming.
You hear when she said, here's the D. In the uncompressed one, the E sounds very different. It's almost like it's in a different space. E, it's like I can almost hear the frequency bands or something. Whereas in the one where it's compressed, the D sounds to me like it's a little bit more with the lower part. The reason for that is when she says the, it's looking at the fundamental frequency, the note that's going the. I'm sorry, woo, right there. E is the frequencies above it, right? So it's actually reducing those high frequencies a little bit as it compresses the woo sound. Wee, it's darkening the E a little bit, so that it sounds like it's almost more part of one sound as opposed to two separate sounds. So listen to the V there. I'm going to play it without the compression first. Listen to the E.
Way, all the
The E. You hear that?
way,
One more time.
all the over.
And then let me put the compression on and listen to that same E.
Way, all the over.
Back to A.
Way, all the
B.
way, all the over.
One more time. So this is not compressed on the D.
Way, all the
With compression.
way, all the over.
You hear it? Start. So there it is. That's all I can teach you right there about compression. It takes time developing that part of your ear, right? And I'm hoping that you notice when we start picking out specific things like the D or the E, you started to notice them, right? Didn't notice it at first. I knew there was a difference, but what is it? And all you can do is just keep developing your ear to move in there. A lot of it is listening to what people say and you try it, but then it's also like, well, wait a minute. And I've gone back and forth, and sometimes I'll read something online and I'm like, that's stupid. And then months later I'm like, oh, now it's here. Or sometimes I'm like, no, ribbon mics. I have tried ribbon mics up and down now, and I cannot find a place for them in my mix. I cannot find the right space for them. I'd rather put on a condenser and EQ it down or roll off something. It just doesn't have energy to me that I want. Now, that might make me different than someone else, right? Whatever. Some people I know with really good ears swear by ribbons. So, that, in a much shorter time frame, is what I did when I put these two things on, what you just heard. And I was doing it on the crappy iMic speakers, although they're much better on those ones in my office than here. I was kind of impressed with those. So.
Way, all the over.
Oh, that's pretty smooth, right? It's pretty smooth now.
ending, reckless
Ooh,
love. God.
hear that? Yeah. And I'm like,
I'm found
so I'm like, oh, S.
99. I couldn't earn it. I don't deserve
There's
it.
some big fat ones right there, right? Okay. I don't deserve it. I can, that's not what I meant. Okay, here we go.
I don't deserve it.
I'm like, oh man. So what would if I wanted to do these right, I would go in and I would find a new way to zoom in Logic, which would be really great. I can't believe I don't.
Chases me. Chase.
Oh, that peaks.
Yeah, well, let's stay on that one. I'm not sure why it's starting
It's
from there.
not on the-
Why is it starting there? That's great. That's a horrible one, though. We'll take it.
Chases me. Chases.
What is it doing? It's not starting at the beginning of the loop.
Chases.
Am I losing my mind here?
No.
Okay.
No, if you are, we all are.
Okay, so it's
Chases me down.
oh, I didn't hit stop.
Chases me down.
Okay, something's wrong with Logic here. Not sure why it's stopping there,
You
but
broke Logic.
we can definitely hear that chases me down, right?
Chase.
So probably what I would do is
Oh,
Chase.
because you have the other track, I think, selected.
is the track selected?
Yeah, because you have something like.
Chases
bottom,
me
very
down, fights till I.
No, it was glitching there. There was something weird there.
Chases me down, fights till
So again-
I. Chases me down, fights till I. Chases me down, fights me.
I'm gonna click on File down here.
Chases me.
And I can see that it's playing off this file off the disk, right? You can see the sibilance here and then the pitch. Pitch comes with the vocal cords, right? Sibilance comes from the teeth. So these, especially if we're compressing, are going to be as loud as these, right? The sibilants are going to be as loud, and they're too loud right here. So one of the things I can do, remember I talked about editing directly on the file. If I'm here, I'm on the file that's on the hard drive. This is what kind of edit? Do you remember? Destructive edit, because I'm destroying the file, right? So I'm going to do a function gain, reduce gain, change gain, and I'm going to turn that down by at least 3 decibels. Now, I've done this enough that I can tell how it should look. And I can still see that the relationship between that, the sibilance, and that note are still too high, so I'm going to do double change gain and do another 3 dB down. Play.
Chases.
I'm going to do that one too. Once. Control G.
Chases me.
Got it? The other way to have done that,
Me down, fights till.
if I wanted to look at this one right here, I could have done it non-destructively up here, top. I really wish Logic would fix their zoom so you could zoom and
Chases me down, fights till I.
so I've got this fights right here,
Fights till.
right? I'm not sure why the computer is not redrawing that for me, right? But change out the scissor tool, jink, jink, jink. Change the gain on that. This is a relatively new feature of Logic right here. And what I like about this one is I can just drag it up and down. I can see. I know sibilance should be about that loud, probably.
Chases me down, fights till I.
Oh, nice. I tried to get rid of something I hadn't known that function was there.
It's fairly new. I think it only came out in the last. At least I knew about it in the last year or two. It's a really, yeah. So at this point, I might do it that way because I could adjust it so easily when I'm watching.
Chases.
Like, there's that guy right there, right? So chink, chink, chink. Have that eye open. Ooh, probably about there.
Chases me.
You know, boy, she's got a lot of S's there. So then I was like, well, that's so many S's in this, and I'm feeling lazy, and I don't want to have to do all this. Let me go put a de-esser on. So here we go. De-essers are for lazy people.
Chases me down, fights till I. Chases me down, fights till.
Thoughts. Fights. Sounds like she's saying fart now.
Yeah.
Again, so this compressor has this de-esser is a pan. It's got two settings on it. Detector, suppressor. Detector, which frequency? So I'm going to set it on detector. I'm going to listen to it. I'm ending up pretty high in this. So this mic has a lot of boost up at 8K, right? Because S's are usually around 6K. I was surprised to be up that high. I wanted the activity to come on only when she was saying those S's. So if I put the sensitivity really high, even the D and the F are coming in there. You see that? Down, up. But I don't want to take out her F. So if I turn that down, I can. So it's only sensing. Still getting the D. There, the D and the F. It's not clicking on, but it's clicking on when your S's are on. Does that make sense?
Why would it be a D?
D.
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 Yeah, your teeth are involved.
Oh, D. Okay.
Anytime your teeth are involved, your F. Well, F has your
F,
teeth.
yes, but F is.
Your teeth are involved.
Okay.
They're adding a high frequency distortion.
Same with like me, right? The M.
Not too much. It's the E that has the high frequency in there, the
Gotcha.
high overtones. What I would suggest, sometimes you hook up a mic, hook up the EQ, and look at the frequency analyzer, and start talking into it, and make watch, and you'll learn where all those frequencies are pretty quickly. You could also turn on you could watch it here, right? In fact, I could set the detector based on watching this, right? You can see that's right up there, right? When she hits that S, watch it. There it is. See? It's very high. Right in that range where I am, right around the 75. I ended up at 86. Got it? Then, which frequency do I want to reduce? Well, you can actually see my ear heard that the frequency was louder down here, even though I'm detecting it up here. So I'm detecting it at 86. I'm cutting it more at 75. How did I get there? I set the detector, then I turn it off, and
Chases me down, fights till I chase.
Then I was like, okay, let me really reduce it. So.
Chases me down, fights till I chase.
And then I swept this.
Me down, fights till I chases me down, fights till I chases me.
And then I turn this until it's natural.
Till I chases me down, fights till I chases me down, fights till
It's hard to find that balance.
chases
Oh,
me
too much, right?
down, fights till I chases me down, fights till I chases
I don't know
me.
why that makes it sound like you're saying farts, but maybe it's just me from back here. I have to say I'm not real satisfied with that. I don't think that sounds that great. It's either like it's not doing enough or she's got a lisp. I can't find where it sounds good, which is why I end up a lot of times going through and editing each one of those down. Questions? So that's where I ended up on her.
Chases me down, fights till I
Definitely sounds like she's still saying farts. So I'm going to reduce the strength a little bit.
chases me down, fights till
I wonder where I was. Let's see here. I was there.
chases me down, fights till I chases me down, fights till I.
So I put the de-esser on, and then the reverb that we happened to pick, silver reverb, the default reverb. The reason we picked silver reverb in the studio was silver reverb is just a crappy reverb that doesn't take a lot of processing, and when we're recording, we don't want to run the risk of the CPU getting overloaded. So we picked silver reverb, and
Found leaves,
I liked it. I'm like, screw it, because one place that I waste a lot of time personally is trying to find the right reverb. For some reason, it's one of the things I feel like I'm not very good at. I'm always like overthinking it. So when I heard that one, I was like, okay.
It
It sounds a little dark from back here, but that's because I'm behind the speakers. So. Put the reverb on. I was like, oh, that's cool. I know I always am going to have my slapback, so I just went ahead and put it on. I just put it on an echo, and I turned it till it sounded about like a slapback. That's the sound of a slapback. Okay? Sounds like they're in a between two buildings.
No shadow
Or, out at the Hot Dog Fest, right? You ever heard that where they got the speakers? Now up. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or at a fair. At a fair, you'll hear it sometimes. Because they have two speakers, two announce speakers, and you hear this one first, and this one takes another 100, because it's 150 feet away, it takes another 160 milliseconds or so to get to you. So it's got that kind of slapbacky sound. That's how it sounds to me.
Now it's you won't climb
Like
up.
when they're like announcing something, and it kind of has that like wave.
That is slapback echo. And I know that I pretty much always want that. So there it is.
There's no wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down. Come
That's a lot.
next to me.
Yeah. Sounds like she's outside, right?
Yeah.
There's no shadow
In
you
maybe
won't
New York City
light
street or something.
up. Mountain you won't
Which mic
climb
is this?
up.
Or is that just doing this?
Sorry?
Was it just doing that, or was that a different mic?
What do you mean a different mic?
I mean, did you have like a mic away from where you were using to do that?
No. I'm just putting it right here. I'm just put in this echo right here. It's an eighth note of 120, whatever the heck that is. I don't even know. I don't care. I just turned this knob until it sounded like that slapback sound.
To me,
Got it?
there's no wall.
Did she say which key this was in?
He said I think she was playing in F minor or F sharp minor, one of the two. Because it's in E minor, right? Normally.
Yeah, well, it is here.
Okay, so then I went over. Then I wanted to start to see what I was doing with the guitar, so I soloed all three of these. I was pleased to hear that her voice wasn't too loud in this. I wish I'd put. Remember, I said I wish I'd put those in figure eight. And hear how good the figure eight worked on her voice. There's not much guitar in that.
Next to me.
It's amazing, actually, because that mic was only 6 inches above the whole of the guitar. So mic patterns really count, don't they? Really count. Yeah. So. Then I started clicking through the guitar, and as has always been the case with me, an acoustic guitar, I always like the pickup sound better than any mic has ever picked up. So the pickup sound sounds like this. And the whole mic sounds like this. That's a really good mic, and I'm still like, not impressed. They're just by the strings. You can hear the strings a little bit, right? So first thing I want to look for between two mics on the same instrument and a DI would be what?
Phase.
Thank you. How might I go about looking at the phase?
Correlation meter.
Correlation meter, right?
Or zoom in, yeah.
Or I could zoom in. Which one do you guys want to do?
Correlation meter.
Correlation meter. All right. Zet, you want to come up? Do it for us? So I would like to see these two right here, the guitar hole and the guitar neck. They are right now bussed through this bus right here. So you should be able to put a correlation meter on that bus. And
Oh, is it an utility?
it's under metering. Cool. Hit play. Let's just solo guitar so we don't hear. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I'll try it again. Let's mute the DI. That's part of the issue. Okay, now try it. There we go. Sure. I can't say I've ever quite seen. Seems like something might be going wrong with Logic.
Never got
It's under here, metering.
And you put it, and it was stereo. Can you go back and look at it again?
How come it's not here? They
Go
don't
here.
This
Correlation.
computer doesn't have correlation meter.
No,
It
it's
should.
Metering?
probably on a mono track.
Yeah, you'd be on stereo for a show.
Click that again.
Yep, try it again. So now you hit play. I've never seen that. Let me see something. Okay, nice job. So what Lizette just did is the way you do it. I'm not sure why. Let's see here.
Oh, so you have to make it stereo first.
Yep, gotta be stereo.
That's why when we did it, we had left and right. And it's through, center through
Match.
Something is wrong with this computer. I'm not sure what's going on right now.
What?
If you're like comparing this one to this one,
You tried in the stereo. Whoops. Well, I'm very disappointed to report that the correlation meter doesn't seem to be working right there. It should be showing, when I did it yesterday, doing exactly what Lizette just did, it was showing it mainly in here, which meant that our guitar hole and our guitar neck were doing pretty well on that. I was really pleased with it, and we could just leave it. I went over to the DI. Let's try that. So if I go DI far left, and I go hole right, and I mute the neck, does it make sense what I'm doing? It was showing a correlation right about here, just borderline with getting out of phase. But if I flipped the phase on one of them, it ended up on this side. So I decided the phase was close enough for all those. If I really wanted to get nitpicky about it, I could come in and do the other technique we were talking about here. In fact, I can just zoom in right here. No, I can't. That's too much to see. So if I can zoom out a little bit, find a better spot. I think towards the beginning, there we go. There's a spot where I can see a little more closely what's going on. As would make sense, the DI comes first, then the guitar hole, then the neck. You see the neck is slightly after it. I could align those a little bit. Here's kind of a big one. I can align these two. So I can pull the neck to more closely align with the hole. Got that? That's a little hard for me to see in the DI what's going on there, right? I can see that's a little trickier. Let me see if there's another spot where it's easier to see. Then I realize we're really zoomed in, and I zoom back out. Then I go back to correlation meter because I'm feeling lazy. Here we go. Oh wait, I think I saw even a better spot to do it. Maybe right here. It's getting a little hard for me to see, but I'm looking and I could see that these are both going up there. And there's a big down there. I'm having problems finding a good spot to line up. Might not be able to in this case. Let's see.
So you're really depending on that being consistent all the way through it.
Well, it's going to be pretty consistent on it. It's going to be pretty consistent.
I mean, I see the logic of expecting it to be, but then in the real world, you see things happen.
Because remember, this is all about amplitude, right?
Yeah.
Amplitude is a combination of multiple frequencies going at once. So when that amplitude goes up, it's all those frequencies happening at the same time. So this is a pretty good spot right here.
No, but I mean, I'm talking about it varying all through the song if it doesn't consistently.
This relationship will not vary. This relationship will not vary. The timing of when the signal got there to here is always going to be the same. Because the pickup and unless she's moving closer to the mic. If her guitar is moving to and from the mic, that would be different. But as long as this mic distance is the same from the guitar and this pickup is
Well, I just remember my early experience with the digital audio files where they didn't necessarily all track well.
Yeah, we're quite a bit beyond that. I don't think we're going to have to worry much about drift at this point. So I can see the old note ending here, right? And I can see the new note ending here. I might, if I really wanted to, I could see this peak here and say, you know what? Tweak. See what I just did?
So take a look at both ends and see how it held up.
Okay. Then I would A/B that and see which one I liked better if it really made a difference. I don't think it probably made that much of a difference in this. So. And then we can go to the.
No.
We're still pretty close, right? See, that's going down and this is going down. Up when it's going up. Okay. Might move that a little bit there. Here's the peak, right? It's not like this. If we saw this, that would be a problem, right? DI going down when this is going up. That's going to be a significant problem. Most of the time, musically, I would stick with using the correlation meter like we've been doing. This is more surgical. And like I said, you want some phase differences. That's part of what creates the broader sound, right? When you go into Serum and you create those waveforms and you detune them, that's what you're doing. You're making it so the wave, there's phase cancellation. So we don't want to get rid of all of it. And what I found when I did this was I didn't want to do the alignment like this. I liked it better when it was a little less in phase, so to speak. Questions on that? Good? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so then I came back to these, and especially as I'm sitting back here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, because you're like zooming in and you're moving it, right? So let's say like you move it in this part, you move it to the left, and then like you keep going forward, and this part you move it to the right. Is this gonna move too, or?
I'm moving the whole region, yeah. I'm moving this whole region right here. In fact, what I should have done is selected all the tracks. So now when I moved for all the takes, it would be the same amount for all the takes, right? And if I look right at the beginning of these regions now, you'll see that one is slightly different times. And this makes sense because the DI would have been the first earliest sound, then the whole, then the neck, right? Getting further away from her
sorry,
pick.
because I thought you were moving like the same region earlier. So like one, you move it to the left, and then like you scroll, and then you move to the right. So
I
I was
did.
like, well, you moved it to the left though, but is it gonna like move to the right again? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
No, they're pretty, and this ties to his question. So back in the day, with digital clocks used to drift, right? Is mainly when you had different devices, you had to match them to the clock, and you could end up with your tracks being off on timing. Now they're pretty consistent. So when I record a track in Logic, it's all tied to the same clock. So when I move that region back and forth, I know that I've just moved it 15 samples at the beginning and the end, and that's pretty much going to be that's going to you don't really have to.
Alright. Got it.
So, and if I wanted this to all start right when it was supposed to, it would be like right there, right? So I move the whole and the neck back a little bit. I don't think that's going to make this particular thing sound any better. So I probably would have left these where they started. Sound good? Good. So, frankly, I probably would just use this sound. Well, they both sound like crap from back here. Oh, hang on. It's because I got the wrong thing muted. Okay. So that's DI, which I have yet to not like as much as the mic part. It just always sounds better to me. That's part of why I asked her if she had a guitar with a DI in it. Because I'm like, okay, I take that DI, add some exciter on it. Guess what kind of compression I'm going to put on it? Ooh, a little bit of limiting. Listen. Do you want to A-B this?
Yeah.
Good. This is a really good spot in the song, too, because she's playing loud. Let us listen to some. What kind of compressor is this?
It's a DBX.
It is, and what's it good for? Oh. I swear, Logic's zoom techniques are so bad.
Wait, hold that phone.
Why am I putting this DBX thing? Because I like the color.
Drums and vocals, no?
It's good for lots of things, but what is it doing? What kind of compressor is this? Black one? DBX? Why am I putting this on the track? It's the same reason that I told you like 15 times every time I put it on. I'm putting this black DBX compressor on because... What's that?
You're lazy and you don't want to do the attack and release.
I don't want to do the attack and release. I'm lazy. I don't. Very good, Sean. Because I know the attack and release in this are what? If it's good for drums, the attack and release are fast. When I'm going in and I'm limiting, I'm giving away the word. When I'm doing fast attacks and release, I am doing more limiting, right? I'm trying to prevent just the peaks going over. High ratio, fast attack, fast release is called limiting. So I'm putting this on as a limiter. Then I'm going to put on a smoother or compressor afterwards. I'm going to use the exact same ones. Why, Sean? Because I'm lazy. I don't want to overthink it. Okay? So I could come in here and I could be setting that a fast attack release time. In fact, what I probably did is I went into guitars and I picked acoustic guitar and I decided this attack and release time are way too slow. Do we want to try to A-B? There's so much we could do, right? Why don't we try no compression compared to the compression I ended up with? See if you can hear that. Are we ready? All right. A. Okay, sorry, let me make the loop a little bit longer than that. A is B. A. B. A. B. A. B. Can you guys hear it? Huh? Just what?
Straight when she strums.
Yeah, exactly. When she hits that hard strum. Okay, so here we go again. So here's A. Here's B. A. I hear it more when you go back to A. Can you tell me which one has compression, A or B?
B has.
B has compression. B has compression, A does not. Because A, when she hits that loud note, it pops right out, right? And here it is with it on. I mean, turn up. Now, I don't hear it as much going that way as going back. So here's the compressor. Now, here's the compressor off. Sorry, let me start. Compress. No compression. Kind of spills out there. Here, I'll turn up the amount of compression here so you can really hear it. With compression. Without compression. That's extreme, right? This compressor's, I'm impressed with this compressor. Because it makes a big difference on the level without really changing the tone that much. It's an interesting compressor. I was researching it, and I guess the attack time changes depending on how much it's compressing. So if it's only compressing a couple dB, it has a slower attack time. As you start to get up to like 10 dB of compression, it starts to have a very fast attack time. Kind of weird.
Question, on those occasions when you can hear the fingers sliding over this keys when a key change,
Yeah.
is there any consensus in the industry whether that's a good
Good
sound
thing,
to have
yeah.
or not a good thing to have?
No, it's hard, and it's sort of like the S's actually.
And well, what would get rid of that?
De-esser.
Literally
a de-esser.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're probably better off doing it on a case-by-case basis.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. So I put that one on. That is going to prevent the front end of the envelope, the front edge of the envelope, from spilling out too much. Does this make sense what I'm saying? Can you picture that worm of an envelope in your head? And the front end is going, being a little bit softened. Okay? Now, I want to bring out the back end a little bit. Okay? Bring out the back end. What kind of compressor might I use for that? What's that? Especially because I'm lazy? Hey, Preston, why don't you take off? Okay. What kind of compressor might I use for that? Long release type compression? What's a good, what type of compressor works well for those long, smooth releases? No, 1176 is the fast one. That's the limiter. LA2A, and an LA2 is an optical compressor, meaning it uses light. We don't need to go into all the details of what that specifically means. But optical compressors, LA2A, are ones that are used for longer, smoother sounds.
Oh shit, look at my mouth.
There you go. So there it is. Here it is, LA2A, coming on. Versus off. Let me turn it down. Oh, I got the auto gain on here, I see. Look at the release I have on that. Really long, right? This one I went and picked this platinum acoustic guitar and then changed it to Oppo. I think I went like this. Platinum acoustic guitar, and then I think clicked here. And I noticed this right away. Long release. It's going to be giving me... Let me just go back to... Thank you. I'm going to A-B this. Just do a quick one. I'll just do it twice. See if you can hear it. Obviously, this A-Bing is something you can start doing, right? Although it is different when someone's pressing the button, I know. Instills a sense of fear. It is funny when you're by yourself, you'll convince yourself that you heard it. Oh, it was just, I had a cold. I mean, I do it all the time. Or, oh, I was listening to the drums too loud last night. That's why I heard it wrong. Yeah. Here we go. Here's A. Here's B. Here's A. Let me turn B up slightly. Okay. Actually, let me start over. That gave it away. Okay. Here's A. I'm not even going to look. Here's B. Hang on. I got to make an adjustment here. Okay. One more time. Take your aural saltine. Here we go. A. B. A. B. Who can hear it? Raise your hand. Yeah, if you don't know, you can't hear it. And don't worry about it. It's fine. But again, it's one of those funny things. Once you start to hear it, you're like, how did I not hear that a second ago, right? Okay, so, was compression on? Now I can't remember. Yes, I think it was B.
The compressor makes it sound kind of like wobbly almost, right? It sounds. I noticed between the drums, it's a little wonky because it sounds like it's ducking.
Pumping. Yeah, pumping and breathing is the term they use for that. It will make. What's that?
The long release kind of makes it sound like it's pumping.
Actually, you usually would, if you have that pumpy sound, you would increase the release so that it comes off slower, because that usually is indicative of the release coming off too fast. By the way, you'll spend the next 20 years figuring out compression. So, let me just tell you what I hear in this. Here, when I have the brim, especially the picks coming across the string, it's not just the initial attack, but as she's moving across. Versus, it's like the life is sucked out of it just a little bit. And then I listen long term here. Here's A. It's really apparent to me when I go back from the compressor to the non-compressor. I don't know if anyone else has that experience. So this is with the compression. The guitar is kind of present, whereas here this sounds more like a real guitar. Boom, kind of poke it out. It's poking out more. Yeah, there you go. So that's what I did. The reason for doing that is just so the guitar isn't poking on the voice, stepping over the voice a little too much, right? Now, what did I do? I bust all the guitars through there.
You give yourself away.
Oh, the room. Sorry. It's like, where do I hear your voice? Then I tried to find some ratio between the three guitars that sounded good. So that's just acoustic guitar, and then I'm watching my input going into the first compressor, by the way. I know I don't want any more than 5 dB of reduction on that limiter. There's that guitar. I added some to the left of the hole. Don't know why, mainly because it adds some stereophonic sound, and a little bit on the right. I may take those all down just a little bit so I'm not overloading the input of the compressor. The pickup has natural compression in it. It's not a very natural sound, which is part of why we kind of like it. It has a little high-end boost in it and compression on the pickup. That's part of why it sounds like way. Whereas the mic will have a lot more oomph pushed to it because I don't know if you remember the velocity of the air. Remember the velocity is coming out of that hole below it on the mic, which is what gives it proximity effect. And if we're using any sort of bidirectional or cardioid pattern, that velocity is going to make the mic kind of move. Yes.
Can't you like blend the DI with the original the mic?
That's what I have. So I have more DI than I have in these. That's what I did. But first I had to check my phase, right?
Yeah.
So I mixed to taste. Because without the DI, it sounds like this. To me, I'm like, give me some DI, please. Give me some of this sound here. Added some exciter on here. Now,
What's panning to the left? What's panning to the right?
I pan the hole to the left and the neck to the right. Yes?
Do you have less hole than neck because the hole has some voice in it?
I have less hole than neck because I try to make hole and neck the same level. For whatever reason, I might need a little more hole. I'm looking now, I can't hear on these speakers. Other questions? So find your balance of hole and neck. Okay. Then I brought her back in.
You give yourself away.
Oh, then I gave some reverb on the guitar because I wanted the guitar to sound like it was in the same space as her. So I brought down the slap back a little bit. I liked the reverb on the guitars. Then I started playing around with the room. Mike? Interesting, right? It starts to make it sound alive, doesn't it? Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't really want to sound like a nightclub, but I'd like. It sounded more energetic than this, right? Without it. So I was finding somewhere between this and the club, right? I liked it right about there.
Sorry, I didn't see. Did you just? That was just adjusting.
That's just
level?
the gain.
Oh, okay, cool.
The room mic. Didn't do anything else with it.
That's just on one room mic, or did you?
Those are the two stereo. Remember, we recorded them on a stereo track, and you could tell stereo by this little dot here. Right? Good question. Others? Oh, I tried to with the guitar. I was like, maybe I can make a cool stereophonic sound by shifting some of the pitches. For those of you who have done this in synthesizers, you change the pitch by maybe somewhere between 7 and 10 cents. You can start to get a real stereophonic sound, right? So I tried that. And I tried it on the left. And I put it with the DI down the middle. And I decided that I liked it better without it. It sounds really flangy, right? It also starts to screw up the attacks. It starts to screw up the high frequency. Anytime you put those on, you're making the sound worse. And I'm like, well, I've only got guitar and voice. I don't have a trippy accompaniment part to put in the background behind the drums and the bass and the lead. there, man, you can screw with that if you want. But when it's like I've only got guitar and voice, to make it sound unnatural, to kill the envelope because I got things starting at different times at different frequencies, and to kill the high frequency because now I'm shifting things in places is not worth it. Was my decision. If you really want to hear what that sounds like, you can add modulation chorus. It sounds like this. Got it? Listen to the attack, how much it kills the attack.
Overwhelmed, you give yourself away.
If I had a really good compressor, I might be able to put some on there, but when I hear this, it starts to sound kind of artificial and not as authentic. I like the authentic sound of her recording. Then lastly, I started getting nitpicky, and this was about when River and Mark came back and saved me because I got out of class. And I was like, you know, that mid-range on the guitar is bugging me. That boom. So I came in and I put an EQ on here, and I watched the guitar. And I could see that there were some bass notes down here below 200. Right about 200, I start to get to mid-range notes. See this? So about 200 to 500, I could see some similar activity. And then 500 to about 1,000 some other, and then everything else is above 2K, right? So I went in and I said, let me try a multi-band compressor as a limiter. I want to use it to keep those mid-range notes from coming in and fighting with her lyrics. Yes?
Oh, no, I was...
So I went and set the first band at 200. I set the next at 500. I set the next at 1,000 and left everything above 2,000 over there. I turned off this limiter right here. And I said, well, what if I make this a limiter? Well, I want it to be all peak. You have to set it to peak here. If I want a high ratio, I got to set the ratio here. The attack time, I want a lower attack time, so 10 milliseconds is a pretty low attack time. And my release time, how did I arrive at these? It was the default. And I heard some pumping. So I extended the length on that one a little bit. Then I did this. Played it.
You give yourself away.
See how that low is only kicking in when it's hitting, right? I just want to limit. So when she's hitting hard, limit these low frequencies. Same with these. So I set the threshold. You can actually see when she's hitting the really low notes, it's on this compressor or limiter. And then the mid-range notes, like an A and D string, it's on this one. You can see it. They go at slightly different times. Sometimes she hits across 12, but watch them as they dance together.
You give yourself away.
When she's picking up, it's here. When she's going down, it's more here, right?
You give
I did the same thing for 3. I set the threshold there. Then I decided on the computer speakers I was listening to, there was too much in the mid-range. I actually went in and I reduced. This is EQing. I'm EQing by pulling these guys down just a little bit in the range where her voice was. And I did that by going over to look at her voice and seeing, right there, 200 to 500, 500 to 1,000. By the way, that 200 to 500, 500 to 1,000, I end up on those a lot. I end up from 1 to about 150, that's bass. 200 to 500, that's the fundamental frequencies of a lot of sounds as well as the snare. 500 to 1,000 is fundamental frequencies of the higher sounds, like lead singing. And then 1,000 to 2,000 is kind of the mid-range of sounds, and maybe 1,000 to 3, and then everything above that starts to be in sibilance range. So I ended up with about here. And if we can do one last A-B, and I'll let you get about your day, I will compare now my multipressor limiting to the overall limiting and see if you can hear any difference. Okay, so here is A.
You give yourself away.
Listen to the guitar, but that's what we're listening for, right? I'll turn it up a little bit. And then here's B.
You give yourself away.
Here's A.
You give yourself away.
I'm lost now. Here's B. So listen to the guitar.
You give yourself away.
A,
You give yourself away.
B.
You give yourself.
Can anyone hear a difference?
A little bit.
What can you describe it?
I think on the part where she said yourself,
Sorry?
on the part where she's saying yourself,
Mhm.
the guitar just kind of jumps up too.
On which one?
On the
Remember?
lyric, when she says give yourself,
Do you remember which A or B?
oh, the.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Listen to the higher frequencies of the guitar, the pick sounds. That's where you're going to hear the biggest difference. Okay, so again, here's A.
You give yourself away.
Here's B.
You give yourself
Back to A.
away. You give yourself away.
B.
You give yourself.
Back to A.
You give yourself.
Anyone hear any difference?
Just B the
Which one's brighter?
B.
Okay, here's A.
You give yourself.
B.
You give yourself away.
B is the most one.
Okay, so one more time. Here's A.
You give yourself away.
Here's B.
You give yourself away.
A.
You give yourself away.
B.
B sounds duller.
B sounds what?
Duller to me.
That would be my descriptor 2. So it's interesting you guys were saying brighter.
The psychoacoustics got me messed up.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't ever feel bad about hearing it a certain way. There is, I think, the reason that you might be hearing it brighter is that it is pulling down the mid highs, so that the real highs, the really airy highs, are still there. What's happening here? I'm glad you heard that. When this compressor kicks on right here and she strums hard, it pulls down these frequencies down here, but not anything above 1,000. So that if you listen to the high frequency with this compressor on, you'll hear that the string sound still sounds the same level. It doesn't duck down. When this compressor kicks on here, and it compresses everything. So even though it's the low frequencies that are loud, everything gets turned down, including the highs. So I'm going to play it back where you can see it and see if you can hear that when this one's on, you can hear more of the string strumming sound. Okay. I do believe there is a little bit of high frequency energy added, but it's very high frequency from this thing. Okay. So it depends where we define the term high. If we're saying above 8K, I do feel like this do have a little bit on it. I'm wondering how much that is because it's reducing so much at 2 to 3K. Okay. So here we go. Here is this compressor on.
You give yourself away.
Okay, here is the multipressor on.
You give yourself away.
I'm going to go through it a few times. Okay. Full compression or full limiting. Wideband limiting. There's the term limiting. Wideband.
Wideband?
Wideband because it's limiting the entire frequency range. This is limiting.
Like the letter Y or Y?
Wide.
With, okay.
This is limiting the entire frequency band. This is limiting different parts of it. Wideband compression or limiting. Sorry.
You give yourself away.
One more time.
You give yourself away.
Multipressure.
You give yourself away. Oh,
One more time. I'll go back. A.
you give yourself.
Listen, especially the pick sound, right in the mid-high range.
You give yourself away.
And multi.
You give yourself away.
Can you hear how much louder it is up there in those higher frequencies? That's why I did this. It's exactly why I did this because I did not want. I felt like it was killing a little bit too much of the guitar, but then the low frequencies were bumping in here. I have to say I was really pleased with this. Most of the time, I've actually I used to hate multiband compression. I have to say now that I'm starting to appreciate it. I am almost. This is the low strings A and E. This is the mid strings D and G, and I'm up here on B and E here on the guitar. I'm literally controlling the level for the different strings across the guitar sheet strums, which is pretty cool, and it sounds pretty natural. So then I ended up here as my basic final product. You hear how smooth that guitar is, but the high frequency is still going, consistent. Even there, I can hear that multi-band compression, keeping it under control, but the high frequency is still coming through. Oh, can I stop now? We good? You guys look like you're about to fall asleep on me.